but it's not about doing business. It's about becoming part of the community. And as you become part of the community and you learn about people in the community and you participate and you add value, then when people have real estate needs, they might seek you out. So yes, using online communities is a real powerful way, right, to embed yourself and to find off-market or properties before they go on market, off-market properties, because people already trust you.
Because the management and transparency is what's very important. So once you submit a referral, you're going to have your own Home Advantage account, and it's going to tell you where everything sits. So if you have 10 referrals that you've sent into the network, it's going to give you all 10 referrals. It's going to tell you every milestone that that client is sitting in, whether they're touring homes, whether they're in escrow. And you now can manage through the Home Advantage application as far as what your pipeline looks like for the referrals that you've sent. And so it's pretty sophisticated, and it's all click of a button, guys.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Keri.
Saul and I were just talking a little bit about data in our businesses, right? So what did you say the domain that you bought was?
Years
Saul?
ago, thedataadvocate.com.
The Data Advocate. And what was the intention when you bought that domain?
Well, we set up a blog. Actually, it was before they used the word blog. But the idea is that data is incredibly valuable, but people don't know it. So somebody's got to go out and advocate for the value that there is in data, because if you can adopt and adapt, and if you can bring data into your business, you can use it in all kinds of ways. And you talked to me about just now about being able to use data to find off-market properties. So it fits exactly what we've been talking about, and that's value in the data.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that is challenging in our market right now in many areas of the country is that we have buyers and they're not that motivated. They want the perfect thing, right? Because if they're going to give up their interest rate that they have now, or they're going to, stop renting and buy, they want to feel like they're getting exactly what they want. And so one of the things we've been really digging into on our team are a couple of simple strategies to be able to find properties that are exactly what your client wants when they're not coming on the market. So I was chatting with my team earlier about this today, and I actually came up with some slides, which I'm happy to share so we can kind of walk through. And I'm sure you'll have different approaches, because you're actually far more analytical than I am and better with data, clearly. But I think that some of the things that we're doing are working really, really well right now. So if you're watching this, the goal is, yes, good afternoon, LabCoatAgents. The goal is to have you put more money in your pocket by being able to create a transaction that otherwise you would just be waiting for, right? It really gives you the control of whether you can solve the buyer's problem or not.
So let me, you addressed something very interesting, Keri, not only from a buyer's perspective, but just the fact that there is not enough inventory nationwide. There's not enough inventory, right? So how can you find inventory? And one of the reasons, or a number of the reasons there's no inventory, and you mentioned it, is low interest rates. And so that people had, so they're not necessarily motivated to go find something new to move up, particularly people who are in a 2 or 3% interest loan, to go find something else when interest rates are now 6%. So there's not the same type of motivation, but there might be if you could find those people that are motivated to sell their property.
Yeah, so it starts by, in my mind, getting hyper focused and very clear on what your buyers want. Once you understand that, then you just have to go out and find it. So these are some simple strategies that are free using the MLS. So I think the MLS is the most underused thing for a real estate agent to be successful that exists on the planet.
I think it's the most valuable, most important tool for any realtor, residential sales realtor, is MLS. No doubt about it. And while people use it every day, it's underutilized.
Yes, of course it is. So we're just going to talk about some simple strategies all within the MLS that are free. Okay. So the first one, go in under the active rentals and look in the area where your clients are searching only under active rentals and see if there's any properties that match what your client is looking for. And then, more importantly, focus on the leases that are ending right now to the next 3 to 6 months, depending on your client's time frame, because a lot of landlords are getting fed up and frustrated, and they don't want to be a landlord anymore, and it's just a nuisance. And so if you happen to contact them before the lease is expiring and say, hey, would you be willing to consider an offer, the timing might be perfect. And based on when the lease was executed, that most leases end in a year. So the exact time that their lease is ending, and you have incredible intel, and you have pictures of the house, so you can talk about very specific features. So one of the things that I've learned in doing a lot of off-market transactions, and to give you guys perspective, in the last 5 years, we've done approximately 30% of our business off-market, and we've done hundreds of transactions. So I haven't on accident made this happen a few times. I've consistently produced off-market sales for years. It's how I built my business, really. So when you're reaching out to the client, here's what I've found. The potential seller, when you're reaching out to the potential seller, the more details you can share about why your client would want their home, the more likely they are to respond to you. Okay. So when you're reaching out, there's a few ways you can do it. In the tax record, you're going to be able to see the first name and last name the majority of the time of the person who owns the property. Now, Saul, I don't know about in your MLS, so I'm very curious about this. In ours, the agents are using a feature card called Forewarned. Do you guys have that?
No, but I would say that most MLSs have a tax service of some sort, right? So you're able to access tax information. That's another one of those underutilized pieces of an MLS.
This is when you're searching on this, for us, the tax record is automatically linked. So you just click the button and you can see the owner of the property's information. And here's what's crazy cool, you guys. We actually have a training video. And if you reach out to me, I'm happy to share it with you, where we teach you how to take the list. So let's imagine that you looked up the leases ending in the next 6 months. The houses that matched your client's criteria, there was 58 of the properties. So the way that we do it, we export the list, the Excel document that has the address of the property, the owner's name, the absentee owner's address. It's all public, guys. It's all in there and it's exportable. And guess what else is crazy? You can narrow those columns and you can mail merge so that you can even create mailing labels to the absentee address directly from the MLS. It is so easy. And then all you have to do is put together a letter and you can fill in the property they own. You can fill in their name. You can fill in all of those things automatically. So you're not spending a ton of time on this, because ultimately it's a numbers game. But the more specific you can be when you do the outreach, the more likely you are to get a result. So Forewarned is in our MLS a way of looking up a client you might be meeting with, but agents also use it to look up potential sellers to get their contact information. For me, I use an app called Bin Verified. It's on my phone. It's super easy. So if I'm really focused on discovering an off-market property for a client, I can put in the person who owns a property's information and it'll give me their email, their phone number, all of their contact information. So I can reach out to them and find out if they would consider selling their property, right?
So Keri, let me just throw this in. There's probably around 600 MLSs in the country, and there's probably around 15 to 20 MLS vendors. And part of what an MLS does is not only provide you a place to list the properties that you have and gives you sold data, but it goes out and puts together deals with these different vendors that can provide lots of different data to you. Tax record data as one example. And there's a company called Rental Beast, because what MLSs are recognizing is at least 40%, 50% of the people that don't own their own homes. They own rentals. So it's prime place for you to prospect is rental properties. And if your MLS happens to be one that uses Rental Beast, you want to take advantage. It allows you, and there's a couple others, but know that your MLS has these types of application software You just have to know it's there, and then you have to take the time to learn how to use it. And a training video, Keri, would be great, right?
Yeah, it'll be super, super helpful because for me, I'm not tech savvy. Like I come up with the ideas on how to use data, but then I need somebody else to train me on how to make the idea that I have work, right? So one way to reach out to these clients is sending them a letter in the mail. Another way to reach out to these clients is sending them an email. Another way is picking up the phone and calling them. Another way is reaching out to them on LinkedIn, reaching out to them on Facebook or Instagram and just sending them a message. So we are seeing a lot of success with people just sending a DM to the seller asking if they would think about selling, and they know who could be a potential seller that matches their client's needs right in the MLS.
Well, and you know what else is, you might be able to identify a number of different ways which people are more open to selling their property. Somebody that owns maybe 100 rental units not going to be necessarily as prone to selling their property. Somebody who owns one, maybe they're going to be more prone to want to sell it. Particularly, I live in San Diego. Our city council just passed an ordinance that requires an owner of property, if a tenant, if they want to have a tenant move for a legitimate reason, they want to recover the property for personal use, they need to repair the property, they need to do some fixing up of the property, and they need to move the tenant. If you want to do that, you have to pay the tenant 2 months relocation. 2 months. And so there might be some people, moms and pops that own rentals, that say, you know, I can't deal with this post-COVID. I just can't deal with it. It's too much owning the property. And so again, a key piece of being able to go into this big database and identify those parties that might be more likely to want to dispose of their property. And some of the political activity in your area might give you some clues.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is another, it seems so obvious, but guess what? Agents don't have it set up in their weekly cadence of what they do to do this. So look up expireds, cancels, and withdrawns. And you could look up that for the last 2 years. I mean, honestly, because somebody had motivation to sell at one time, why not reach back out to them if their property happens to be a match for what your client's looking for? And one other piece of advice on the rentals with an active rental, or on the canceled, expired, and withdrawns. Whenever you're setting up a search for your client, duplicate that search and then only send the things to yourself that are expired, canceled, and withdrawn that match your client's criteria. Because then instead of having to always go searching for it, it'll automatically come to you if something changes the status in the MLS, and then boom, you have an immediate notification. So to me, that's a pretty big deal and simple, simple, simple. Okay, now this is one that is all about collaboration, and it's so easy. Again, it's so easy to do, and I cannot believe how many deals we've got from just doing this simple thing. You know the area where the property is that your client wants to buy, and there's going to be some listing agents that have a track record of success in that neighborhood. So simply do the research. Again, the way that we do it, we don't always pick up the phone and call the listing agents, but that's a simple way. Build a relationship with them. Find out where they're having a challenge getting a particular listing for one of their buyers, and try and provide value by telling them about a listing that's not on the market yet that might solve a problem for them. And then ask what they have coming up, because people are so reciprocal. So if they're a listing agent that is consistently listing in a neighborhood, wouldn't you want to ask if they have anything coming up where your client wants to be before it hits? Like, it seems so obvious. So what we do when we're trying to reach out to listing agents, we use that same mail merge feature. Because if you send an email to 50 agents and it says, "Hi, real estate agent," or "Hey, how are you?" They're, with our day and age, with all of the spam emails we get, they're just moving that to the side. They're not paying any attention to it. But if I send an email that says, "Hey, Saul, I noticed you recently sold 123 Main Street. Congratulations. You've had a ton of success in the Bluemont neighborhood. We have a client who desperately wants to move there. And so I'm reaching out specifically to see if you have any homes coming up, and even in the next couple months, that are going to be a single family, at least 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, blah, blah, blah. Do you happen to have anything coming up? By the way, if you have any buyer needs, I'd sure love to work with you. Let me know what they are, and let's put some deals together."
Keri, that's a great point, because you're right. It's a relationship business. People who are consistent listers, they work their territory, and they know a year, sometimes 2 years ahead of time when someone is going to want to sell their property. They know when the family is expecting another child. They know things that are not necessarily public because that's their territory.
Yes.
And so absolutely. And we've had these for years where we used to call them exchangers meetings, but we have caravan groups, and people get together and they get to know one another, and they become friends, and they do transactions together. And you're right. If you know somebody works in an area and you've got someone that's interested in the area, one of your richest sources of information are going to be those agents that work that particular territory.
Yes, 100%. You can also talk to the people who have recently helped a buyer in the neighborhood and ask them if they know of any of their neighbors that are looking to sell, because that other agent is motivated to do that because they want to get involved in the transaction too, right? So I think it's just broadening the conversations that you're having. And then Saul mentioned how every MLS has different partners. One of the partners we've used consistently to find out the likelihood to sell scores in a neighborhood, for us, it's Remine. I don't know if you guys have Remine in your market, but it's a very creepy, amazing resource because it uses credit card data. So if I am, and Evite data. So if I send an Evite because I'm having a baby shower and then I'm buying baby clothes and all of these things, and it indicates that I have a higher likelihood to sell score, it increases my score on there. And I believe the way they're ranking them now are A, B, and C. And so whenever we're determining how to approach finding properties in a neighborhood, we're running the criteria that matches against the Remine score, and we're prioritizing calling the A's first because it's a numbers game. We can only call so many people, and if we're trying to create a result for our client quickly, it's a very effective way of quickly getting in front of those potential sellers.
So this is the golden goblet, right? This is what you really want to know. You want to know, in a neighborhood of 1,000 homes, which people are most likely to sell in the next 30, 60, 90 days. You say, well, nobody has a crystal ball. Yes, they do.
They do.
They have a crystal ball because, and there was a story around a major retailer a number of years ago that were able to determine that when a woman is in her second trimester of pregnancies, she buys certain products. And based on those products, they knew how to send coupons out, knowing what the next level would be. And as I thought about that, that's genius. You think about people that are getting ready to buy or sell a house, particularly if you're to sell. There are patterns of purchases that people make that if you looked at those people that do certain things, the likelihood of them being people that are going to sell in the next year are much higher than randomly picking people. And Remine is a great company, a great opportunity that provides that kind of intelligence. And so if your MLS, again, underutilized asset, if your MLS has put this together for you, then you should take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was my last slide. So I'll stop sharing now. And we have in our full presentation, we have 15 different ways to find off-market properties. So we can talk about a few of the others that I think are effective. I wanted to focus on the MLS first because it's free. It's free data that's at your disposal, that's easy, right?
Well, I would say you're paying for it, so you should use it.
I guess the way I think of it is it's free, but it's not entirely free.
Right.
Yes, you should take advantage of it. As Saul said, see the data, you are paying for it, but you should take advantage of it because no matter how many of the features you use, for the most part, it's included. All of this data is included in what you're paying for. If you were giving advice about how they should approach sourcing off markets, what are some of the thoughts you would have? Do you have any?
I think you hit the ones that are the most obvious, the ones that people don't address. It's finding the people that are most likely to list, talking to the people that have the most data, and utilizing the MLS tools that are already there to the greatest possibilities. And that might require a little training on your part, but by all means, it'll pay off. So you should do it. And again, your greatest tool is your MLS.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And then I think there's other ways to source off markets. One of the things we talk about is for sale by owner sites, right? So you can often see for sale by military, for sale by owner, there's different websites where you're going to find different properties where someone puts it up there and they're not really ready yet, but they're thinking about it. And so identifying some of those things, and then Facebook groups. I find that some of the mom groups, I have 4 children. I don't know if you knew that I have 4 children under 7. So some of those mom groups, they'll say, hey, we're thinking about moving to blah, blah, blah neighborhood. What do you guys think about the neighborhood? Well, if you're looking for those comments and those indicators that someone's thinking about moving, you want to find out if they have a home to sell, and you want to be a resource for them.
So that great point. So Facebook groups, also there's an application called Nextdoor that's available in, right? And so, but it's not about doing business, it's about becoming part of the community. And as you become part of the community and you learn about people in the community and you participate and you add value, then when people have real estate needs, they might seek you out. So yes, using online communities is a real powerful way, right, to embed yourself and to find off-market properties before they go on market, off-market properties, because people already trust you.
Yes, absolutely. Have you talked to any agents that are advertising on Nextdoor? Because I'm continually getting requests. And if you're watching this and you are advertising on Nextdoor, I want to hear about it. But anyone you've talked to, Saul?
Early on, I heard people doing it and we're not crazy about the idea, but that's, in my mind, that's because they don't understand the value of participating. It's not about the advertising. It's about participating. Now, if I were participating and I would let everybody know, I'd help everybody every way I could, and I would schedule a certain amount of time that I participate, and then I would try the advertising.
Yeah, because people would already know you.
Yep.
That's smart. It's kind of similar to how you would approach the moms group or the entrepreneur. There was Mothers in Business. There was some group in my area, Mothers in Business. And I remember I went the first time and they said, well, who in the group has an employee? And I had many, and I looked around and I was the only one out of all of the women. And so I said, well, would anyone be interested in learning? Whoa. They're doing my lawn down there. It's okay. You're fine. I'm going to go inside so I don't prevent them from doing the lawn there. So anyway, I said, well, hey, would anyone like me to do a session on how to determine when you're ready to hire somebody and then the steps you need to take to hire? So to Saul's point about participation, you're just trying to figure out how to add value. And so it might be something as simple as, hey, here's the top playgrounds, which if you guys are curious how I've done that, I've done it a few times now. Go on our YouTube channel. I've done sessions, or sessions is the wrong word. Content, video blogs, things where I've tried to figure out what would a community member want to know? So get this, last week, I got a 46% open rate. I segment my database based on where people are searching for homes. And then I serve them content that matches the zip codes where they're searching. And it's all automated. You know, all of the zip codes that they're searching in I use Follow Up Boss combined with YLocal. So everywhere that they're searching on YLocal fuels right into my Follow Up Boss. And then that's how I serve them content. So I said to myself as a mother and a parent, geez, I really want to take my kids to a water park. So I started doing research about the water parks, and I thought other parents are feeling this way too, because it's just getting warm enough here and people are. So I put the subject line, mini golf and a splash, Arlington Family Fun or something like that. 46% open rate, and people click to start looking at houses from that. So a lot of generating and being valuable is about just learning how your avatars think and then putting yourself out there to create value for them.
Yeah, you're creating a presence in a community. The only thing is a virtual community, not a real life community. But before there was the internet, we all participated in the real life community and we did all these kinds of things. Well, now we're just talking about, you still do those kinds of things, but now you have another place to do them.
Yeah.
And you do them within a virtual, but it's the same idea. You're helping people, you're participating with people, you're building relationships, you're building trust, you're delivering value. People get to know who you are. And the average term of home ownership is like 5 to 8 years or something. So they're not going to necessarily list with you today, but you're in this business for the long haul.
Yes.
Right. And so this is the way you build your presence, utilizing the technology that's available. And it is, you're pretty much free, right? To participate in these
pretty
online.
much. All right. I know we're out of time here, but I so appreciated us doing this. And I hope you guys got some value out of it. I know Saul and I are committed to putting more money in your pocket and helping you to be successful.
It's good seeing you again.
You too.
Take
Bye.
care.